Welcome to Meet the Meso Expert. My name is Carolyn Shields, and I'm the Development Manager at the Mesothelioma Applied Research Foundation. Today, I will be sitting down virtually with Joe Belluck from Belluck Law. Joe has been a supporter of the Meso Foundation and our work for many years, and we are excited to spend this time getting to know him and more about Belluck Law. Good morning, Joe. Thank you for joining me today. Happy to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. So we've hosted a few Meet the Meso Expert episodes with you over the years, but today I'd like to mix things up a little bit and give our viewers the chance to get to know you, hear about your work with the Meso community, and then touch on some more of the broad aspects of Meso litigation from your perspective.
Great.
We'll go ahead and get started. So to kick things off, can you give me kind of the quick stats, the overview of Belluck Law and your firm?
Sure. I've personally been handling mesothelioma cases for about 25 years. About 22 years ago, Jordan Fox and I founded Belluck and Fox, and Jordan retired at the end of last year, so the firm is now known as Belluck Law. We file between 75 and 100 mesothelioma cases a year throughout the country. Significant portion of those are in the Northeast, but we file cases in California, and, in the Midwest, and other states. I have 40 employees. Approximately 15 of those are lawyers, and the other 25 are paralegals and support staff.
Big team.
Yeah.
That's great. And
These,
you're based in New York, correct?
Yes, our main office is in New York. We also in New York City. We also have offices in upstate New York, in Rochester, New York, and Albany, New York, and Woodstock, New York. We have an office in Portland, Maine, and an office in Boston, Massachusetts, and an office in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, which is in New Jersey and also is close to Philadelphia.
So I'd love to hear how you got started in mesothelioma litigation. It's a very niche space, niche cancer.
Yeah.
How did you end up here?
Well, when I graduated from law school, I moved to Washington, D.C., and I went to work for a consumer group, which was started by the consumer advocate Ralph Nader, and that group was known as Public Citizen. It still exists today. And what we did was try to make sure that government agencies like the FDA, the Environmental Protection Agency, were acting in the best interests of consumers and patients, and also work to make sure that Congress was passing laws that were in the best interest of consumers. And part of that work was focused on trying to make sure Congress didn't pass laws that limited asbestos lawsuits or other lawsuits. And I got to know a trial lawyer by the name of Fred Barron, who was one of the original asbestos lawyers. And I spent 2 years between college and law school working with Fred on a lot of these issues. When I graduated from law school, Fred Barron, who was based in Dallas, Texas, had decided to open up a New York City office for his asbestos law firm, and asked me if I would go work for him. So I was doing some work on the tobacco litigation that New York State had brought against the tobacco companies to discourage marketing to kids and things like that. But I decided to join Fred's office in New York. And I worked there from about 1999 to 2001. And in 2001, obviously 9/11 happened, and it was a significant event for the country and all of us living in New York City. So Fred Barron at that time set up a project called Trial Lawyers Care. And the purpose of the project was to represent for free families of the victims of 9/11. And he called me and said, I've had this office in New York for a couple of years. I think I'm probably going to be closing the office, but I would like to make a deal with you. And the deal is I want you to take 6 months off, unpaid, and volunteer for Trial Lawyers Care representing 9/11 families for free. And at the end of the 6 months, I'll turn over my practice in New York to you and Jordan and help you start a law firm.
Wow.
So I had a 1-year-old baby at the time. So it was not the easiest financially to stop working for 6 months, but I was very motivated by the cause and helping these families. It's the same type of work we do now. And I did it on a handshake because I'd known Fred a long time and trusted him. And I did that for 6 months. And at the end of that, I called Fred, and Belluck and Fox was started. And we've been going ever since then.
So you've had a strong sense of justice for everyday people your whole career.
Yes, I've been doing this work my entire legal career, and even before that, I've never represented or worked for a corporate law firm or a large corporation. My entire life has been dedicated to helping consumers and people who are injured by others' negligence.
That's amazing. Is that something, whenever you were in school, did you have that sense that that's something you wanted to do and felt passionate about? Or was it not until you started actually working that you're like, this is where I belong?
So it was definitely something I was interested in throughout college and law school. I traced this all back to my father, who was not a lawyer. He was an engineer. But when I was very young, we lived near the airport in New York City. It's where I grew up. My mom still lives there. And my father was very agitated about the noise from the airplanes flying over our house. And he had sort of an ongoing letter writing campaign with the Federal Aviation Administration, asking them if there was a way to limit the noise so that when he was in the backyard or we were in the backyard, it wasn't. Actually, while I was still in junior high, his sort of letter writing prompted me to get a summer internship with the New York State Attorney General's office. And my job at this office was to respond to people who were complaining about purchasing things from television ads that they didn't get. So I'm sure everybody's sort of familiar with these ads. You know, you can buy 25 Tupperware bowls for $6.99 and they throw in another 25. Mm-hmm. So, when those types of transactions don't get completed or the product is not of good quality, a lot of people write to their attorney general's office, which in most states has a consumer protection role. So I spent a summer basically responding to consumers who were upset about purchasing, pots and pans that weren't the right thing, or a watch or something like that. And I actually still have some of the letters I got from that experience. But I sort of see that moment back in junior high doing that as the start of my consumer advocacy.
All right. The things our parents do that they don't realize are just going to impact you for the rest of your life.
Yes.
I love that. I love that that's how you got started. So what do you feel is the most rewarding part of the work that you do?
So, there are a couple of things I could cite to. I think the absolute number one is meeting and helping and spending time with our clients. Many, many, many of our clients over the past 25 years have become friends. Some of the clients more recently who are still living, I text frequently. They send me pictures from their vacations or a concert they went to or a car that they just purchased. And I love people. I love meeting new people. I have a lot of interests myself, so just connecting with them, learning their stories, and sharing, common interests about music or, cars or travel, has been such a gift. We are involved in our clients' lives at a very vulnerable and emotional time. And my mother was a social worker, and there are a lot of dynamics that go on in families and relationships when someone has a terminal illness. The person who has mesothelioma can feel a lot of guilt that they're burdening their loved ones and family members. They can feel embarrassment. They can feel like they're burdening their family members with care or interrupting normal schedules. As you know, if you have mesothelioma, the schedule of doctor's appointments and treatments can become almost a full-time job. So it's very disruptive to our clients and their families, activities and schedule, not to mention just traumatic and emotional. It impacts relationships physically, it impacts relationships emotionally. The result of that is because we're helping our clients at this time, and also as part of the case, we have them give statements for the court case about what they're going through, and discussing the emotional and mental and physical impact. We become super close with them. In some ways, they talk to us more and in a less guarded way than their own families, because they're not concerned about burdening us. So if you have a terminal illness and you're scared about that, you may not want to talk to your partner about that because you don't want to upset them. You may be thinking to yourself, I don't want to upset my wife or husband more than they already are by talking to them about what I'm going through. For a lot of men, this experience can be very emasculating. For a lot of women who are used to doing so much around the house and with kids, and it can be very devastating to their sense of self. We get super close with them, and it's really the best part of this job. We're good litigators. I love being a lawyer. I love fighting. But it's really meeting and helping these clients that drives what we do every day.
It's personal for you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Is there, without sharing too many details or personal information, is there one case that really stands out to you that you kind of come back to in your memory when things get hard?
I remember so many of our clients, even clients from 20 years ago. If I get a inquiry from their kid or their spouse or something, I remember them. I remember the details of their cases, and I have a lot of really great stories of things that I experience with my clients. I've had clients who make their own wine and have, had a couple of drinks and didn't realize that it was like 50% alcohol that they were making. Until I had a couple of drinks. I've had clients who I share a lot of musical interests with, and especially more and more as the clients are similar in age to me, or younger. I share a lot of musical tastes. I ride a motorcycle. I used to ride a motorcycle, and I, for many years, had a 1967 Harley Davidson in my law office, in my actual office.
Oh, wow.
And a client of mine was in the office for their deposition in the case, and I sort of jokingly said to him, if you do a good job on the deposition, I'll give you the motorcycle. And at the time, I was sort of being tongue-in-cheek about it, and this gentleman ended up living for several years, and about a year after the case was over, I got a phone call from him, and he said, I'm on my way down with a friend of mine to pick up the bike. And I said, okay, well, if you can get it out of the office, you're gonna have to take the forks and the wheel off, but if you can get it out, it's yours. And sure enough, later that day, he drove from upstate New York to my office with another guy. They dismantled part of the bike, they wheeled it out, and I felt obligated to follow through on my promise to him. But yeah, I remember a lot of our clients and the stories and connections that I've made with them over the years.
That's amazing. He was not going to let you out of
No,
that promise.
Definitely not.
Oh, that's great. So when families come to you during, as we've talked about, a very vulnerable time, probably the hardest, if not the hardest point in time for them in their entire lives, what do you hope that they feel throughout the process of working with you?
Well, we certainly want them to feel like we've done a good job advocating for them and getting a good financial and compensation result. That's obviously our main job for them, is to protect their families financially from medical related expenses, and give our clients the peace of mind that their families will be protected financially. So we certainly want them to feel that we've done that. We want them to feel that the communication between our office and them and their families is good and frequent, and if they have questions or something is going on, that we're responsive to that. I would say just it's never perfect, but we try to do a really good job of contact and communication. And all my clients have my cell phone. It's not uncommon. This past weekend, I was on the phone with a client at 8 a.m. on Saturday and another one on 8 a.m. on Sunday about certain things. Some of that is due to my schedule. It's just sometimes easier on the weekends for me to have time to talk to the clients. But, I feel that with what our clients are going through, We, within reason, should try to be available 24/7 to them, because their health condition can change rapidly and they're going through a lot of stress already. So we don't really want to add to that. Finally, I hope our clients feel that they've been heard and seen and advocated for. A lot of our clients, in addition to wanting to protect them and their families financially, they're doing this to right a wrong and to get justice for what happened. And we are the vehicle that they do that through. So it's important that they feel that way. The last thing I'll just say, we try to be a resource to them for anything related to mesothelioma or what they're going through. So, if they have questions about something the doctor said that we might be able to clarify, or they want to talk to another client of ours who was treated by, the same doctor or institution, to find out, what was it like to go through surgery, or, did you have trouble getting them to approve your insurance, or things like that. And, we also have clients who will call and say, I'd like to give back. How do I do that? We connect them with the Meso Foundation, Cure Meso, and, say to them, look, these are, the independent foundation, not affiliated with doctors or pharmaceutical companies or lawyers, even though you have a lot of us involved in helping the foundation. But we value your independence, and we answer questions like that for our clients too.
Thank you for saying that. And we do have patients and their families that come to us from you, and we appreciate that relationship that we've had throughout the many years working with Belluck Law. And I know patients and their families appreciate your availability for them, because, like you said, it's really hard, and sometimes you just need someone else to talk to about what's going on in your life, and I know that that's something that they probably really appreciate.
And a lot of times it's not just the client or patient. I will frequently get calls from a spouse who will say, look, I didn't want to say this when we were all together, but his condition is really going downhill and he's really worried about this, or children are often involved in this, and it's answering their questions also. So we try to be available to the patient and the immediate family, certainly.
That's great. So moving off of kind of the get to know you section of this, and moving more into kind of the meso litigation, but at a high level, what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in meso litigation over the course of your career?
I would say certainly the types of cases with meaning where the exposures to asbestos have occurred has changed. And some of that is due to the increased number of cases we're seeing associated with cosmetic talc and talcum powder, baby powder products. And that is certainly a very significant change. When I started doing this, we didn't have any cases like that. We had what we call industrial talc cases, but not these personal use product cases. And now probably about 25% of our mesothelioma cases we believe are associated with cosmetic talc use or use of baby powder products. So um, I will often joke that when I started in this business, I knew a fair amount, but learned a lot about auto mechanics and working on industrial equipment like boilers and pumps and valves, and now I go to hearings and depositions, and I'm learning about loose face powder and press powder and a whole different group of companies. But so that's certainly one significant change. I think partially related to that, the gender of our clients has changed. When I first started doing this, there were, 80 plus 85, 90% of our clients were men. And now, probably about 25 or 30% of our clients are women. We have represented women who've had industrial exposures or worked in a trade or something like that. We're also seeing more international clients. So that's a little bit of a change. We always had a fair amount of clients who had immigrated from places like Italy or that went into the trades here in New York. But now we're seeing, people who moved here from or were exposed from U.S. products from, Australia, and, Africa, and South America, and so that's a little bit of a change. And I guess the last thing is sort of the age of the clients, and I would say a little bit on both ends of the spectrum, because I think people are generally living longer. So we have some clients in our 90s, and but we are also seeing a lot of younger clients in their 30s, 40s. That is more significant group than it was when we started doing this.
So thinking about kind of how those demographics across the board have changed, and the percentages of women, the percentages of cosmetic talc exposure versus professional workplace exposure, where do you see that trending?
I mean, my best prediction is that we'll probably see those trends continue. In part because, given when asbestos was taken out of building products and automobile brakes and clutches, and certainly industrial settings, there hopefully we'll see a decrease in the number of mesothelioma cases from those types of exposures. I think that would be the expectation. There's obviously still a lot of asbestos in materials that are in place in people's homes and buildings and factories, or if you're working on an old car or something like that. But in terms of new products being worked with, by a certain period of time, depending on the product, I would suspect we're going to see fewer cases. But these personal use products, especially talc, that was being used well into the 2000s. So I would suspect that, and a higher percentage of those cases do involve women. So I would suspect that we're going to see more women, more non-industrial exposures, younger population. A lot of people start using cosmetics or these powder products at a very young age. So the latency between exposure and disease is when they're younger. So that's my best prediction. I hope the cases go down overall. So there are less people with mesothelioma, but my prediction is that the trends we're seeing will continue and the cases will not decrease as much as one would anticipate.
Thank you for that insight. What do you think is one thing patients or caregivers are most surprised by once they begin the legal process?
I think sometimes it's the speed in which we do things, and also the fact that we're able to put a case together based on what it may seem to them to be very little information that we can tease out and add to with our expertise. So I am on a big kick about speed right now because we have gotten a lot of new clients recently who were pretty advanced in their diagnosis and progression of the mesothelioma. And it gives us very little time to work with them to protect them and their families and put a case together. So what I would really like people with mesothelioma to know is once we get involved, we do everything extremely quickly. I was hired yesterday by a new client with mesothelioma. I filed the case this morning.
Wow.
That's how quickly we move, because we know that between the mesothelioma and the treatment for the mesothelioma, we hope our clients live a long time and are healthy for a long time. But to do our job, we need to act like we have to do everything right away. So, and part of that, and part of the message I want to send to people who have mesothelioma or their family member does is, whether it's hiring my law firm or another law firm that does this, do not wait. Get us involved as soon as possible after you're given the diagnosis by your physician, because every day that we have counts, and the sooner we can get involved and get information, start working on things, the better the outcome is going to be for you and your family. Even if you don't know exactly how your exposure to asbestos occurred, or have an idea but you're not exactly sure, or have questions about that, again, whether it's me or another lawyer who does this, don't let that be a barrier to contacting us, because that is our expertise in helping you figure that out. I recently represented a gentleman who was an optician. We think he had some exposure through his making lenses and eyeglass frames to asbestos, but first time I met with him, I went through all of his jobs, his life. It seemed that, the optician work was what we were focused on. I asked him, can you tell me every job you had since you were a kid? I hang up. A couple of days later, he calls me back. He said, you were asking me on the phone about different jobs, if I ever worked in construction. And he's like, I just remembered that for 2 years in college, I worked for a fuel oil company in New York, and I serviced their boilers and furnaces. Okay. So here is a very smart person with college educated, successful business person with an optical business, well-read. He's very cognitively fine. He forgot about a job he had until we started talking to him. And that became a significant part of the case. So, you also, people may not realize that certain products had asbestos, so they may not connect it to
Right.
this. And we often know that these products did, so we can work with them to put a case together. And, the worst thing that can happen is we can say to you, we've tried our best and can't do anything. But if you don't try, or you think of something later, it may be too late. So if you have mesothelioma, get a lawyer involved and let us try to help you with that.
I can imagine that going through your entire life in that way with such detail, just to kind of connect pieces, solve that mystery of where that exposure happened, is potentially cathartic to kind of go through all of that. Is that something that you see? Do patients kind of have any sort of sense of relief, or is it a very emotional process? What does that tend to look like?
Yeah, well, it's in part connected to what we were talking about earlier, which is the connection that we make with the clients, and part of that being having them talk about how this has impacted them. But I use that word cathartic a lot. I'm actually glad you brought it up, because sometimes we get contacted by patients with mesothelioma and they're reluctant to pursue something with a lawyer, in part because, they've never sued anybody before. They're not, litigious. So this is sort of a new thing for them. And I will often say to them, this can be a very cathartic process, in part because they get to share how this is impacting them on a very personal level. And we videotape that and use it in the case. And it may truly be the only time and place that they're being fully describing what this has done to them. And we ask them very poignant and important questions to sort of have them talk about that. But again, a lot of people don't want to or feel comfortable sharing all of that with their family members. And I'm not telling you or anybody who has mesothelioma or works with people with mesothelioma something that you don't know, but a lot of the details about how this disease impacts you are very personal. It can impact the intimacy between a husband and wife. I recently represented a man who's in his 40s in California who has peritoneal mesothelioma. And, he unfortunately had surgery and has a colostomy bag. And, talking about the bag leaking and what it's like to be traveling or out somewhere with his kids who are younger, and having to deal with the embarrassment of that, that's not necessarily something that someone talks about to anybody, especially outside the immediate family. But even with their partner, they may not feel comfortable talking about that. So that's very cathartic. And then, the other part, which also sort of relates to what we were talking about earlier, is, people have different roles in their family. And, it's changing. But, for a lot of the men we represent, They're used to being the provider financially in the family. They're used to being the person who works on the car when it breaks or fixes the sink when it leaks. And this can be a very emasculating situation, because if you can't work and you're not earning money, or you have to hire someone to fix the thing around the house that you used to do, you feel like you're less of a person. So the lawsuit and helping your family get compensation, sticking up for them, often makes our clients feel that they're contributing to their family. And the same is true for women. You know, a lot of women now are in the workforce, they're working, they're providing financially. My mom did everything around the house. So it impacts how people feel about their role in the family. So again, it's a way that, you know, both men and women are doing something that has a purpose to it, and it is part of that cathartic process of what we do that you're talking about.
Yeah. So with all of those kind of aspects, what do you feel, or what have you seen as the biggest barrier of people wanting to go through Meso litigation?
I mean, look, I've been a lawyer my whole life. I believe in the justice system. I believe in the work we do, and we help people. There's no question about it. But you know, litigation is not something that people want to be involved in if they can avoid it. Most people, right? Whether you're being sued or you're suing somebody, you know, most people don't want to be involved in a legal process and going through that. So I often find the biggest barrier is just trying to reassure people that we will make this the least burdensome process. We will do as much of this as we can. You know, there are some things that our clients need to do. Usually it's just getting people over their initial hesitation and reluctance to pursue something, and you know, let us guide them through the process and participate in it with us. And you know, we do really try to minimize the impact of this, because we know that people are dealing with so much. So we're very focused on that, but that's usually the biggest challenge we have.
Understandable. That's a scary thing to dive into. So
definitely.
So as you've been in the asbestos and mesothelioma world for a long time, from being with Belluck and Fox and now Belluck Law, what are the guiding principles that have shaped your firm from the beginning?
Number one, always remember why we're doing this. You know, I chose to do this type of work because I believe we help people. I say this to my staff very frequently. If this is just a paycheck to you and you're not motivated by wanting to help people and recognizing the role you play in somebody's life at a very important time and helping them get compensation and justice, you should not be working here, because this is hard work. A lot of people think, oh, it's all sort of pro forma. You just file something and you get compensation, and why do I need a lawyer? I can just do this myself. Or that's not the case. We work very hard. We work on each case individually to get the best result. And if you're not motivated by trying to help people, you're not going to do as good of a job. So that's number one. Doing quality work. Everybody makes mistakes. We make mistakes. I've never met a lawyer who hasn't made a mistake, but we want to minimize those. We every case is a building block. We've been doing this a long time, so we know so much about it, but I learned something new. Literally every case I handle, I learn something new. I don't know if this is a guiding principle, but I'll just say two other things. One, I always tell the people in my office, you don't know what kind of day someone has had, right? So when you call a client, if, they're abrupt or don't want to talk to you, or they're in a bad mood, take it for what it is. Maybe they got news from their doctor, maybe they're not feeling well from a treatment, you don't know. So, treat people in a way that has an understanding for what they're going through. And finally, as you know, we like to give back to organizations like Cure Meso and some healthcare institutions that are doing research, and also to people who are sponsoring a golf tournament for mesothelioma or a marathon. A lot of that, a lot of those donations, I think, end up going to Cure Meso through those events, but some of them go to local cancer or hospice organizations. And, we've been very blessed to be able to do this work, help people, and be financially rewarded ourselves in doing that. And that's a really rare thing, to be able to do the kind of work we do, helping people every day and still make a living is not something we take for granted. So we like to give back as much as we can.
That's amazing. Yeah, and you get to see the impact, the positive impact of your work regularly, and that's the gift.
Yes, for sure.
Looking into the future, what changes do you hope to see in mesothelioma awareness or advocacy in the next decade?
I think number one, we want to find a cure, something close to a cure, a better treatments. There's so much research going on that, the Meso Foundation has helped kickstart and promote. A lot of the doctors on your board and on your scientific committees are obviously spearheading that. I am constantly amazed by the optimism of the doctors and researchers who work on this and work with the Meso Foundation, that they are trying to find novel approaches to this. And we help try to sponsor whatever we can. A couple of years ago, we were asked to sponsor some research, I think, at the University of Maryland, that focused on extract from broccoli, that indications might have some efficacy or something. But people are still trying to research. I was talking to a thoracic surgeon last night in California, and he's starting to think about, or is working on, a trial for aerosolized chemotherapy, similar to a chemotherapy wash that's done during surgery or inside, but instead of doing it with a liquid, doing it with an aerosol. So, part of the goal of treatments is to keep the patients and our clients alive long enough that when there's a more effective treatment or a cure, they'll be able to have a benefit from that too. So, the immunotherapies have so much promise, and some of our clients have had dramatic results, but number one, I would say, is a cure and better treatments, and trying to make this process as easy as possible on them.
It's an incredible community of people the meso community in general, the doctors, the researchers, the patients, their families, some of the most selfless people that you will come across, and the hope and the creativity around research. It's incredible to watch, and it's exciting to be in this
Yeah,
arena right now.
for sure. Yeah, it's very inspiring.
Mm-hmm. So we'll kind of wrap this up a little bit. And you've touched on this a little bit while we've been talking, but what's one message that you'd like patients and caregivers that are watching to take with them?
I know this sounds a little bit like a broken record, but I would encourage anybody who has mesothelioma to contact me, or if it's not me, another law firm that does this. It should be a law firm like mine that specializes in mesothelioma cases, because we're going to be best equipped to help you and your family. But I would encourage anybody with mesothelioma to at least speak with a lawyer who specializes in this. Let us answer whatever questions you have and tell us how we can help you and your family. And I know how challenging the diagnosis can be, and I've heard from so many of my clients some version of, I just got diagnosed and I want to get my medical treatment squared away and sorted out before I do anything legally. Give me a little bit of time. That waiting can seriously impact what we can do for you. It's not insignificant. I always say to prospective clients, I try really hard not to be pushy. I don't want to seem like I'm being too aggressive. I've been through this with a lot of people, but I'm going to tell you because, it's my job, and also because we care. Don't wait. Do not wait. As soon as you get the diagnosis and you're, have a few days or a day or whatever it is to react to it, contact a lawyer, get us involved, and let us try to help you. Because if you wait, our ability to do things may be more limited, and also getting all your medical treatments and everything squared away may not be a quick process. If you're going to a mesothelioma center to get evaluated for surgery, and it could take several months to get completely situated with a treatment plan and the scans and everything like that. So if you wait, it may take a while before you get the process started with us, which will not be positive for the outcome.
Time is most valuable.
Yes.
All right. So outside of work, what keeps you grounded? What brings you joy after a long day?
So I am a huge music fan. It's one of the great things about my clients is a lot of them are also music fans, and now a lot of my clients are of the age that we share musical taste. So I see a lot of live music. I listen to a lot of live music, that's a great way to relax. In the spring and summer, at my house in Woodstock, New York, I have a garden that I love to spend time in, and I find it very meditative. And I'm a huge sports fan. So I don't want to turn anybody off, so I won't go through my sports teams. But I'm a huge. But I live in New York City, and I'm a huge ice hockey fan. I also like, basketball and baseball, and I watch a lot of sports. I go to a lot of sporting events, and I find that to be a really, really good way to relax and have fun.
You have activities for all seasons.
Yes, definitely.
Well, thank you so much, Joe, for sitting down with me today and letting our viewers really get a chance to meet the Meso expert. We're so grateful for Belluck Law's support of the foundation and your dedication to helping patients and their families navigate really challenging times. So thank you. We really appreciate you.
You are very welcome. It's an honor to do this and be able to support the foundation, and we look forward to supporting the foundation in the years ahead.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That concludes this episode of Meet the Meso Expert. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for future episodes of Meet the Meso Expert. And take a look at our Meso TV episodes where we discuss things like treatment options, clinical trials, and hear from patients and survivors and other mesothelioma topics of interest.